I was driving home from work when I needed to stop by the Red Cross to donate blood, something I do about every 3 months. After scheduling a time, I went in and registered, waiting for my turn. They ran my card through the computer and asked all the silly questions. Well, I guess they're not entirely silly, but I always sat there saying, no, 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 until we got through the whole list. I'd donated 6 gallons before, so it was almost always the same. I'd never been in the hospital or abroad, so it was pretty straightforward for me. The only person I'd had sex with in the last 20 years was my wife, with whom I'd spent 18 years. Yes, we had sex before marriage, like everyone else in the world. Anyway, the questions about sex were pretty straightforward too. No venereal diseases, no HIV, no other sexually transmitted diseases. I knew the nurse always felt awkward asking me all these sexual questions, but it was her job, and we moved on to the regular checklist. Then she said she'd be back after checking the updated donor list. She returned and looked at me, lowering her head. "What's wrong, Mary?" I asked. "Do I have low iron or something else?" She looked at me and asked if I was related to Judy Lawrence. I replied, "Of course, Mary. She's my wife. You know that. What's the problem, Mary?" "Jim, Judy came in this morning to donate blood, but she was rejected." "What's that got to do with me, Mary?" "Jim, I don't know how to say this exactly, but according to her form, she had sex within the last 3 months with someone who tested positive for HIV this morning. That means everyone she's had sexual contact with could have been infected and won't be able to donate blood for 12 months. I'm really sorry, Jim." "Wait a second, Mary. Did she just come here and tell the Red Cross representatives that?" "No, Jim. When someone goes to a doctor or hospital and is found to be a carrier of the virus, they're asked to provide the names of people they've had sexual contact with in the last year. This list is confidential but is provided to the Red Cross so we can monitor infected blood." "So, Mary, are you saying that my beloved wife was on that carrier list?" "Yes, Jim. The carrier was supposed to contact their sexual partners and inform them that they are carriers so that they could seek medical advice. But, according to your wife's form, she was never notified." "Who is this carrier claiming to have had sex with my wife, Mary?" "I'm sorry, Jim. I can't tell you because you didn't have sex with this person. You're the second contact, and you'll have to find out about it from your wife." "I'm really sorry, Jim. I just can't say. I hope you understand. Just like I can't mention your name to anyone else." "Mary, we've been friends for a long time, and I won't insist on this. But what are the chances that I'll get infected?" "Jim, the chances of you not being infected are very high, since it was the second contact and, I shouldn't tell you this, but your wife said that you used protection, so that's in your favor too." I thanked Mary and headed home. What was I going to do? How do I deal with this after 18 years of marriage? We have a daughter who just graduated from high school and is attending college but still lives at home. What do I tell her? I always thought we had a good marriage. We regularly had sex or made love. In fact, we did just that last week. God, that night I was completely lost in her body. Now I can regret that. It was our special night. We went out for dinner and drinks. I remember we got pretty drunk. The sex when we got home was amazing. I'm trying to remember everything we did. I remember us kissing at the beginning, then I kissed her breasts. Damn, love seems so clinical now. God, I must have an oral venereal disease now. We made love. Damn her for putting our lives at risk, and all for what? I have yet to find out that I needed to calm down. I had to act like nothing happened until I find out the name of that son of a bitch. That's when the shit will hit the fan. As usual, when I got back home, dinner was almost ready. Beth, our daughter, always started preparing it, and my wife usually got home before me and finished it. It was our family time when we all sat down and discussed the day. We probably ate together at least 4 days a week. Today could turn out to be interesting. Entering the house, I immediately headed to the bathroom to wash my hands. Usually, I kiss my wife and daughter when I come home, but today I wanted to skip that, especially with Beth. I didn't even want to kiss her until I found out what was going on. I didn't want to infect my daughter with the disease. Damn, now I was almost paranoid. We sat down to eat, and Beth started talking about her first weeks at college. She was so excited and talked throughout dinner. Then she mentioned that her friend would come over, and they would go to the library to study. She asked if we could do the dishes today because her friend had already arrived and was waiting for her. I told her to go and do her thing. I'll load the dishwasher for her. She really was a good kid. I couldn't help but feel proud of her. As soon as Beth left, my behavior changed. I looked at Judy and asked how her day went. She replied that it was just like any other day, without mentioning anything about donating blood or even attempting to donate. I looked her straight in the eye and said, "Judy, would you say that trust and honesty are the most important things in a marriage?" She looked at me strangely and asked, "Why are you asking me this, Jim? What's the matter?" "Just answer the question, and I'll explain later," I said. "Okay, I'll play along." "Yes, I believe that marriage is built on trust and honesty," she replied. I wanted it to be almost like a game. I didn't want her to try to guess me, so I told her that at work today, one of the members of our group, who always has lunch together, asked a question. "Do we feel that our spouses will lie to us about important matters?" Not a little white lie, but genuinely important issues. Most answered that they trust their spouses to tell them the truth. Judy asked me what my answer was. I told her that I told the group we have a strong marriage and can discuss our problems, and I hope you'll tell me the truth. Judy looked at me and said, "Jim, I would never lie to you." I told her that if she lied to me, I would never be able to trust her again, and without trust, a marriage is impossible. Then I looked at her and said, "Well, there we go, we've talked. Do you have any secrets you need to tell me? I'm ready to listen." She pretended like she was about to say something but then stopped. Then she replied, "No, Jim, I don't have any secrets hidden from you." Then I said, "By the way, Judy, I want to donate blood today. How about you? We usually go on the same day." She looked at me a bit nervously and said that she went, but they told her she had low iron levels, so this time she couldn't donate blood. I looked at her and said that they wouldn't take mine either. Something about the possibility of my wife having HIV. Judy covered her mouth with her hands and said, "Oh, my God." They said everything would be confidential. I didn't know they would tell you. I'm so sorry. I looked at Judy and said, "Trust and honesty make up a marriage, right? I gave you every chance to tell me, and you're still hiding it from me. Who the hell did you sleep with that you're willing to risk your marriage for this and possibly infect us with venereal diseases? Please, Jim, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. It will never happen again, I promise." Who the hell was it? This is the last time I'm asking. I'll go to your office and ask every son of a bitch if you don't tell me. Judy was crying and kept begging me to forgive her. Then she said it was one of the salesmen, Bob Hawkins, at work. She said he had recently moved to this area and would only be staying here for a few months for training, then he'd move away. He was flirting with all the ladies. One day he invited her to lunch. She didn't know why she did it, but he kept hitting on her, constantly flirting, and eventually, she gave in. She thought it would be just one time. She stated that he would leave at the end of the month. His temporary stay here was coming to an end. She told him he had to wear a condom, but next to me, he was a lousy lover. It was just sex. He had no idea how to make love. Judy looked at me and said, "Jim, I'm so sorry I cheated on you. This was the only time in our marriage. I was stupid and behaved like a schoolgirl. I promise you from the bottom of my heart that I'll do everything possible to make up for my mistake to you. Please, forgive me." Judy, at the beginning of our conversation, we both agreed that trust and honesty are necessary to preserve a marriage. You broke both. Even after I gave you a chance to tell the truth, you still lied to me. Now you're saying this has never happened before. Since you lied to me just now, to my face, I can't distinguish your truth from your lies. You've just destroyed our marriage. For both of us, I hope your lover did wear a condom and that was enough to prevent us from getting HIV. Judy sat on the couch, crying, while I walked around and packed a couple of suitcases. I told her that we could file for divorce without any grounds for it. We both had good jobs, and we were financially stable. We could split all our assets 50-50. She could take care of Beth, and I would take care of her college expenses. I told her she could explain everything to Beth because it's her fault and her problem. I'll contact my lawyer, and he'll get in touch with her. Sitting in the car, I drove away, crying. Outwardly, I held myself together, but inside, I was torn apart. I wanted to throw up. 18 years of marriage down the drain, all because of a stupid affair. I booked a room in one of the budget motels for a week. I figured I would be in a better state by then to know what my plans are. I called my boss and told him I had some personal matters to attend to and wouldn't be in until the end of the week. He said it wasn't a problem and that he'd see me next Monday. I called directory assistants to find out where Bob Hawkins lived. I called his home, and his wife answered. She asked who I was, and I told her I was from the health department and needed to talk to him. She said he wasn't home right now but was planning to meet a friend at the local pub. Then she asked, "What does the local health department need from Bob?" I told her he has HIV and is spreading it around the county. We need to know who he's been in contact with. She was shocked and said that we must have the wrong Bob Hawkins, that he's not from around here, he's married with 2 kids. I apologized and said I hoped she was right, but maybe she'd want to ask him about it when he gets back home. That bastard had a family, and he didn't even tell his wife about it. What a jerk. I headed to the local pub, which was quite empty on a weekday evening. I noticed a couple in one of the booths and assumed it was probably Bob, who was seducing someone's wife. I approached him and asked if he was Bob Hawkins, to which he replied yes. I told him I work for the health department and would like to talk to him outside, if possible. Of course, he agreed and told the woman he would be right back. We were about the same height, only he was about 15 years younger. Perhaps that's what attracted Judy to him. Women like to think they're attractive to younger men. Us older guys, to hell with us. This made me even angrier. I had an old pair of brass knuckles that I bought at a garage sale. You don't come across those often anymore. When we turned into the parking lot, I punched him. I didn't say a word to him except calling him a jerk and a bastard. I kept beating him until he was half dead, mostly on the body. I kicked him twice in the balls or near them. Then I hit him in the jaw again. I think I broke it. I was ready to go to jail for this. It was what I had to do. While he lay there bruised and battered, I looked around, didn't see anyone. So I went to my car, returned to the motel and cleaned myself up. I tried my best to not have any blood on me. I didn't want to risk HIV. The next day, I heard in the news that a man had been beaten half to death in the parking lot of a pub in the Lower East Side area. There were no witnesses. The victim had several broken ribs and a broken jaw. He couldn't speak because his mouth was wired shut to hold his jaw in place. They said he had other injuries, but didn't specify what exactly. According to reports, no one in the pub noticed anything strange. Perhaps the woman was married and didn't want to get involved. The bartender said he didn't see anything unusual. I contacted my lawyer and made an appointment with the doctor. The next day, I talked to Beth. She was in tears and said her mom told her the whole story and wanted to know if I could forgive her. I told Beth that the pain is too real right now. I'm going through with the divorce, but she can reach out to me anytime. I told her to take care of her mom and make sure her mom sees doctors. About 6 months passed. I filed for divorce. It was finalized, and so far, neither of us has shown any signs of HIV or any venereal diseases. We were lucky. Not everyone is as fortunate as us. Bob's wife filed for divorce after she underwent testing and is now HIV positive thanks to her loving husband. I have no idea where Bob is now, but he never found out who beat the crap out of him. I guess many husbands wanted to get at him. Several other women in Judy's office also underwent testing. Their data is kept confidential. Judy is doing fine. She calls me from time to time to talk, always apologizing for her actions. The problem is, she lost my trust. As we've already discussed, trust is earned, and once lost, it's very difficult to regain. I'm doing okay. Judy kept almost everything, except for my personal belongings. She took out a second mortgage on the house and paid me half of its net value. So financially, we're both fine. I have a small apartment, but it's just a place to crash. I no longer have a loving home. We see each other occasionally. We have the same friends who hope that someday we'll be together again. At least Judy takes full responsibility for her actions, instead of making a bunch of excuses. Inside, I miss Judy a lot. She was the love of my life, and for what did she ruin it all? I know she asks herself the same question. As for sex, I'm almost afraid to engage in it now. It was one of the most enjoyable things in a monogamous marriage. Sex was wonderful, and there were no worries about venereal diseases. I'm very afraid for Beth and afraid of relationships. It's quite a disgusting world. I don't know what the future holds for us, but both Judy and I will have to come to terms with it. Hopefully, in another 6 months, I'll be able to donate blood again.